Good morning, Top Fan Rivalry followers. It's Friday morning. It's time for the weekly review. Jackson's here. I'm here. Jackson's running the show. I'm just going to be an innocent bystander because his Atlanta Braves are like 160-1 right now. And so, I mean, everybody back off. The Braves are coming down. Choo choo. That train has left the station and coming down the tracks.
I was gonna
Jackson,
say,
how are you this morning?
don't tell the social media fans that it feels like they're 162 or 0 and 162 with how crazy everyone gets after they lose. But a pretty good week for the Braves. I think the Braves have embraced the maximum chaos aspect of the NL wild card this year. So
They have. They have, and don't worry, last year we had the same feelings in LA. Like when we lost, people would like throw parties. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. I mean, that's the way you feel. Good for you, I guess.
yeah,
So, um, Jackson, what do you got for number one for us today?
um, I'm actually going to talk about the NL wild card in a way. How about the Miami Marlins New York Mets game getting suspended in the top of the ninth inning last night, Bill? Two
Yeah.
outs in the top of the ninth inning, and they declined to resume play, even though the rain broke for about half an hour, to my understanding. The Marlins called the commissioner's office, and nobody was up, apparently, according to the Marlins general manager, Kim Ong, that she has to talk to them this morning. Uh, Skip Schumacher cussed out the grounds crew. It was quite the sight to behold. I think this really affects the Marlins. They're half a game up on the Cubs for the last wild card spot. They do have the tiebreaker, but now it makes them, even if they end up in a situation where they're tied with someone, they might have to go to New York. Or if they're a half game up, they have to go to New York on the day before the playoffs start and play a 20-minute baseball game.
So here's what's interesting, and this is why, and I think that Skip Schumacher was right. I mean, I don't condone him like telling people where they
Yeah.
can go and how they can get
Yeah.
there, but he's right. So here's how the rules read. If they would have um, canceled the game, the rules read that since the Miami Marlins came back in the top of the ninth, they would divert back to the eighth inning since the home team didn't get a chance to bat, and Miami would lose the game 1-0.
Yeah.
So obviously, that's what they would have done if it was game 57 of 162. Now, seeing that it has playoff implications, here's the issue. Rumor has it that they're going to try to resume it this morning at 11 a.m. That's all fine and good. But what happens to Miami? They have to fly to Pittsburgh, and they still have to play in Pittsburgh at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time tonight. So either way, Miami is screwed in this scenario. It doesn't work out.
Yeah. I mean, with 4 outs to go, I would have played, and if the Mets tied it up in the bottom of the ninth and the ninth inning ended, then you stop the game. But
Yeah.
you got to at least get through 9 innings. I think it's this late this season, especially with the grounds crew. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah. No, and they got to be looking for ways to. I mean, I know it was a 2-hour rain delay, but they got to be looking for ways to get in it. This was just the Mets sticking it to the Marlins because they didn't care. I mean, the Mets were mathematically eliminated 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, something like that. Um, and so the grounds crew's like, we want to go home. We want to be with our family. Oh crap! It stopped raining. Oh, we better get out there. Too late.
I think the joke's on them because I think this was the Mets' last home series of the year.
Yeah,
So I think they were probably thinking vacation. They might have to come back in on Monday.
yeah, exactly. I mean, on MLB.com it says that they're resuming the game today, but I don't know that that's going to be the case.
I Unless they move the Pittsburgh game to a doubleheader or shift the Pittsburgh series back.
Can't.
If you're the Marlins, you'd rather play in Pittsburgh on Monday than having to fly back to New York to play, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course, but
Yeah.
they can't. They've already got everything scheduled. It's the last homestand for Pittsburgh. I mean, they don't have the option to move a game back.
Yeah.
And so what potentially could happen to the Marlins today is they play at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Maybe the game lasts 20 minutes, maybe the game lasts a half hour, maybe the game lasts an hour, whatever. By the time they get over to the airport and get on a plane, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They have to fly an hour, hour and a half to Pittsburgh.
and then
By the
play
time they
again.
get to the stadium, it's between 4 and 5 o'clock, and the game starts an hour and a half later. Advantage Pittsburgh tonight for that game, by the
Yeah,
way. So
yeah. So if you were a gambling man,
yeah, yeah. Advantage Cubs to get into the postseason, by the way, because of this.
uh,
I mean, this is
again though they don't have the tiebreaker, so even if the Marlins lose,
yeah, but if the Marlins lose that game, let's say that they don't score again and the Mets come back and win that game. Now they're both even, right? With 3 games left to play. Now Chicago's playing Milwaukee. Milwaukee wants everything to do with spoiling them. The That being said, they want everything to do with spoiling them, right? But then you've got Miami playing in Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh is rested. It's their last 3 games of the season. You know that they're not going to just lay down for their fans. They're gonna try to make it happen. So it's unique.
yeah,
Unique.
it certainly added to an already chaotic NL wildcard race.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. All right. So I'm not going to stick on the races just yet. I'll come back to that, but I'm going to go with my number one. I'm going to say congratulations to Baltimore for clinching a playoff spot, or clinching the division, I should say, and winning 100 games. Not only did Baltimore win 100 games, Atlanta won 100 games, but the Dodgers have an outside shot if they can win 2 out of 3 this weekend to get to 100 games. So now you're going to have 3 teams that have over 100 game over 100 games in the win column, and we want to congratulate the Oakland A's at getting to the 110 mark. Congratulations, A's. But that was 110 losses. Sorry, fellas, but 110 losses. So yeah, that's my number
Mhm.
one. I mean, it's
Yeah,
pretty awesome to see what
yeah.
Baltimore's done this season.
They're the fastest team to go from 100 losses to 100 wins. So, you
And
know,
they're doing it right because it's a bunch of young kids, and these young kids are going to do very, very well in the future.
yeah, I think they have a good shot to come out of the AL this year with how exhausted all the teams from the West might be.
Yep. Yeah. No.
So,
Agreed. 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 Um, what you got for number two?
uh, number two,
Yep.
I was going to talk about the AL West race and
Go for it.
how heated it got this week with Houston taking, I believe, 2 out of 3 from Seattle, and Hector Neris calling Julio Rodriguez some names, even though they were like friends. Now they're not friends. I don't even know anymore, Bill. But the fact of the matter is, Texas has a 2 game lead heading into the final weekend of the season for the AL West title, and the Mariners are 1 game behind the Astros heading into the final weekend after their walk-off win last night against said Texas Rangers, Houston Texans, Texas Rangers. So many Texas
Ball,
teams.
baseball.
Uh, sometimes they play like the Texans. Most of their history it looks like the Tech, but I digress. Texas Rangers in first place, Houston, Seattle, right behind them. Seattle 1 game behind Houston. So,
No,
Bill, if you're a Houston Astros fan, how are you feeling heading into the final weekend against you play Arizona and Seattle plays Texas?
not good.
Not
Not,
good.
not good. So Jackson, here's the funny part, right? So Seattle is 3 games out of winning the division, right? They could sweep Texas, tie Texas, and Houston could get swept at Arizona. Houston could be out, and you could have the tiebreaker. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Rangers hold that tiebreaker, but I'd have to triple check. But like, it's not over to anybody yet. Now,
Oh
last
no.
night was a must-win game for Seattle. If Seattle loses that game last night, they are a game and a half, or they're 2 games behind Houston with 3 to go, and they're out of the division. So that was a huge, huge win for them last night. But if you're Houston, you're still as nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs because Arizona could be knocked out by either Miami or Chicago. So Arizona's not going to lay down, right? And so,
Wow.
I mean,
It,
it's Houston needs to win tonight. If the Texans, see, now you've got me saying that. If the
sorry.
Rangers can, man, if the Rangers can win tonight and Houston can win tonight, effectively that will lock it up for both teams. But um, But if either one of those goes the other way, you still got a race.
Yeah. Well, you forgot about the third scenario where Houston takes 2 out of 3 and Seattle sweeps Texas, and
Uh-huh.
they all end with the same record. And then we get to use the new tiebreaker rules. But
Yeah.
bring back game 163 baseball. Do it. I need it,
But
especially in that scenario. I would want it so bad. Two game 163s. So the team would be playing play 164, Bill.
there you go. Poor Rob
Oh,
is going, man, can I get a break here? But of course, Rob called me this week and I just sent him a voicemail. I don't, I don't have time to deal with people right now. I'm running Top Fan. I don't have time to deal with Manford. He can deal with it on his own.
yeah.
So, okay, I'm gonna divert from all the fun. Somebody asked me this question this week, and I thought, hmm, great question on the baseball topic, but having nothing to do with what is going on right now. They asked me, Joe Mauer's first year of Hall of Fame eligibility is this year. Is he a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Jackson, what do you say? I'll answer it as well, but what do you think?
Emphatically, yes.
Okay. Tell me why.
He has an MVP, 3 batting titles as a catcher, and then 5 Silver Sluggers as a catcher. You look at his first decade, absolute, probably the greatest catcher of all time in the first decade. I know you know, his last 4 or 5 years in the league, he wasn't that great. But when you have a 10 years run as good as he did, I think you get into the Hall of Fame.
I completely agree. I think it's Beltre's first year too. So I think both of those guys get on in their first year. Um, I really I was surprised because the question was asked on a live, and I was surprised at how many people said no. Because I honestly, to me, anytime you have somebody that plays that long for the same team and can play catcher and then convert himself over to being a first baseman and still have as many hits as he did and offensively perform, to me, that's a Hall of Famer. So remember,
Yeah.
when you are a catcher, your offensive numbers are just gravy, right? You're not being brought up to hit 315 with 40 bombs. You're
Well,
being
I
brought
mean,
up to catch and to be a psychologist.
yeah. I mean, if you look at his 2009 season alone, what catcher hits 365 with a 444 on base and a 587 slugging?
Yep. No,
That's a
agree.
that's a ridiculous season.
No,
The
agree.
catching.
And I can't believe people were saying no. I really can't.
Oh yeah, Joe Mauer, first ballot Hall of Famer.
So
Easy.
shout out to the person that asked that question. You know who you are. I will make sure you get the video on this, but I couldn't believe it earlier this week.
Yeah, great
So
question.
yeah, great question. Okay. Jackson, what do you got for number three?
I will also shift to a less lighthearted and more serious note as we remember Brooks Robinson this week as he passed away, Mr. Oriole, the greatest defensive third baseman of all time. So
Yeah, yeah. There's I had said about basketball a number of years ago, and I kind of sort of think I was right. Um, I had said when the Showtime era for the Lakers had ended in the I'm going to say early 90s, those that were being trained like the Shaquille O'Neals, the Kobe Bryants would be the last great generation of that basketball. Because they were trained by the guys that weren't flashy but played the game right. And so I feel the same way about Brooks Robinson. He played in an era where you just played the game hard and you played it right. You didn't care about statistics. You didn't. Now they weren't making nearly as much money as these guys do now, but yeah, he just did it right, man. He's a good guy, did it right. So hats off to you, Mr. Brooks Robinson. So
yeah,
great
and
call.
I encourage everyone to go to the Baseball Hall of Fame. I think they posted a video on Instagram. They probably posted one on YouTube too of Brooks Robinson's defensive highlights from the World Series when they played the Reds.
Reds.
He
Yeah.
he made some plays.
Yeah. Who was it? Was it Sparky Anderson or one of the other managers said, just don't hit the ball to Brooks. Hit it anywhere but to Brooks. Okay, good call. Good call. No, that's a good call. Number three, I'm going to go with my favorite thing that I know my good friend, Top Fan Stats guy, will love. A couple of standouts this season, right? First of all, Matt Olson knocks in number 136 last night, which puts him at the single highest RBI record, beating Eddie Matthews, who had 135, since they started counting it as a stat, which was 1920. Now, I think in 1886, somebody had 145, but it wasn't really
Yeah.
counted as a stat.
Yes,
So,
that is correct.
yeah, so there you go, Jackson. How
There
you
you
like
go.
that? Not only that,
Call.
but the Dodgers have four people now with over 100 RBIs. JD Martinez, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy. In addition to that, this season we've seen a 40-70 guy come into play. Um, on the flip side, we still don't have a 20-game winner for pitching. So it's very interesting how these stats are playing out this season.
But I will tell you, Spencer Strider is pitching this Saturday, so we might have one.
Maybe we'll see. I hope because it'll prove a point that I've had an argument with somebody offline, and it'll prove my point. So I hope so. But a lot of interesting statistics that have happened this season that I don't know that people are paying attention to. So Jackson, how did I do as the statistics guy today?
Pretty good. I mean, a couple notable ones. They were going to be my honorable mentions, but I'll push them up. The Braves are set to become the first team to slug over 500 as a
Yes.
team since the 1927 Yankees, Bill.
Worders row.
They are also, I think they're down to what, 4 home runs away from breaking the single season home run record.
Mhm.
So you're right. It's just been a crazy season all around. And I mean, the Braves aren't the only ones. Corbin Carroll's having a crazy season. Francisco Lindor has had like his second or third straight 30-30 season or something crazy like that. He's looking like a Hall of Famer. So, I mean, baseball's good. It's fun. There's a lot of good players out there.
So my honorable mention, since this is the last show that we do before the playoffs start, is for the teams that made the playoffs this year. Let's see how it plays out. For the teams that didn't make the playoffs this year, you got to go back to playing the get them on, get them over, get them in baseball. Um, I know the home run is sexy. In fact, I think we might be creating a Top Fan Rivalry shirt that says "Chicks dig the long ball," right? From the old commercial, which I'm sure Jackson, you know, you'll love. I'll have to send you one. But, um, but that being said, it. We need to get back to playing the game the way that it was meant to be played because I suspect that teams that were moving, the Braves that were stealing, the Diamondbacks that were stealing, Baltimore Orioles that were running, I suspect that they're going to have a much bigger leg up in the playoffs than the teams that weren't moving.
Oh, absolutely.
Just
I
my
think,
guess.
and to your point, the two most dangerous teams in the American League are Tampa Bay and Baltimore, who do like to run. So not a
Yeah,
lot of big boppers, but a lot of runners.
yeah. No, Jackson, I'm so excited for next week. And everybody, it's so I need to say this out loud. Okay. Everybody chill out. Okay. The Dodgers and the Braves have the bye. We know the Orioles have the bye. We have no idea who the second team is that gets the bye. It's either going to be Texas, Houston, or Seattle.
Somebody.
we, we have no idea. It should be the Tampa Bay Rays, but they're the wild card team. So it has to be a division leader. So everybody chill out. The It's not a week and a half, 2 weeks that they get off. It's the All-Star break. Really, that's all it is. They play on Sunday and then they play again on Saturday. And so some teams after the All-Star break played on Thursday this year. Some teams started on Friday. Some teams started on Saturday. So it's no different than an All-Star break. So everybody can chill out about, oh, look, I heard some talking heads last night talk about it. Jackson drove me nuts. Like, well, this is a new format. We only had it since last year, but boy, we'll see in 5 or 6 years if that buy is really a good thing. Of course it is. Everybody's tired. They want a
It.
day off,
I think
right?
the bigger advantage is more for the bullpens of those teams.
Yes. Yeah. Because long gone are the days of Mike Scott and Nolan Ryan and other guys like that pitching 7 or 8 innings in the playoffs. Okay, you'll be lucky if your starter pitches 5 innings in the playoffs. Just is what it is. So,
Yep,
so Jackson, that's my honorable mention. Again, how did I do on my stats? How
you
did I
did
do
great.
on calling it out?
You did great, Bill. You did great.
Did I do okay today? Did I make you proud of me?
I did. You did. I did. You did. We did.
We all did.
We all did. There we go. That's what I was looking for. But yeah, I think, heading into the final weekend of the regular season, you know, watch some AL West baseball. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, watch a lot
Or
of it. Oh, Wasp
or
baseball.
angry. Who knows? Who knows how it's gonna be? But
I had,
I think next week we'll be recapping the first round of the playoffs just about.
yep, yes. Actually, we will be. We will be.
Yeah, next Friday.
Um, and so I I have a yeah, I have a friend who's an Astro fan, and I talked to him offline. I said, you know what concerns me about the Astros? And he says, what's that? And I said, you guys have been bumped and beat up all year long too, just like the Dodgers. Here's your biggest issue. He said, what's that? Right. And I said, you guys play in Arizona, right? He said, yeah. Okay. Um, and I believe they would match up. I'm not totally sure against this, but I think they match up against um, uh, Tampa Bay if they stay where they're at. So that
Yeah.
means they have to fly from Arizona to Tampa Bay Sunday night, have Monday off. They play Tuesday, Wednesday, and maybe Thursday, and then they'll have to fly to wherever they match up against. For them, hopefully it's Baltimore because that flight is less than an hour or an hour or so. But it may not be Baltimore, it might be Texas, so they have to fly all the way back home. And so um, when you're playing a playoff game, playoff atmosphere the last weekend of the game, and then you have one day off, and then the real playoffs start, and it's best of three. That's dangerous. That's absolutely dangerous. So, but that being said, Jackson, I think we done gone and did good today. Yeah.
I think so.
So everybody that's listening to this, all you Top Fan Rivalry followers, make sure that you are on our Instagram and following us. Make sure that you are also going to the website and getting locker room access. You're going to want that because there's a lot of fun stuff. Now you're seeing this on YouTube right now, but guess what? These are going to disappear here pretty quick, and there's going to be a lot of content that goes behind the paywall in our locker room. So get your locker room access. It's $58 a month. You have 20 pieces of either shows or articles a month it's $58 a year. I'm sorry,
Yeah, I was gonna say
$58 a year.
it's $58 a year.
Yeah, $58 a year is nothing when you're going to get over 200 pieces of baseball information each year. So, Jackson, is there any codes out there that they should consider using?
You can use code Jackson. I believe that saves you 10% on your membership. It saves 10% in the shop.
10% in the shop. I agree. I agree. Well, Jackson, let's go ahead and do this again. We'll do it again next week.
All right. Yeah. See you next Friday. We'll recap the playoffs.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Sounds
Have a
good.
good one, guys.
You too.